Breaking developments in Gaza City. Israeli armored units are advancing deeper than ever before, marking a new phase in the ongoing conflict. Today, we bring you an in-depth look at the unfolding situation. Stay tuned for all the details and expert analysis. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are focusing on a significant escalation in Gaza City where Israeli armored units have spearheaded a major incursion. Over the past few days, the situation has intensified dramatically with tanks, armored personnel carriers, and mechanized infantry moving through key city sectors. Eyewitnesses report large convoys moving through urban areas supported by artillery and airstrikes. The strategy appears to be focused on securing key infrastructure while limiting civilian casualties, though reports from the ground indicate growing humanitarian concerns. Military analysts suggest that this operation is part of a broader plan to disrupt militant networks embedded within Gaza's densely populated districts. As armored units push deeper into the city, checkpoints have been established and strategic positions secured, giving Israeli forces a tactical advantage. Civilian movement has been heavily restricted, and humanitarian corridors are being negotiated, though access remains limited. Media coverage has shown armored vehicles navigating narrow streets, sometimes facing ambushes or improvised defenses from local groups. The incursion represents a shift from previous operations, emphasizing ground presence rather than just aerial bombardment. Experts argue that urban warfare poses unique challenges for armored units, including the risk of ambushes, booby traps, and snipers, making every advance a calculated risk. In the following sections, we'll break down the military strategy, the humanitarian implications, and the regional impact of this incursion. The armored units involved in this operation are among the most advanced in the Israeli military arsenal. Equipped with Merkava tanks, Nemer armored personnel carriers, and support from engineering units, these forces are designed to handle urban warfare effectively. The Merkava's heavy armor and firepower allow it to withstand attacks from anti-tank weapons, while the Nemer provides protected troop movement. Engineers are clearing debris, barricades, and explosive devices that may have been planted in advance. Air support is coordinated with ground units to provide precise targeting, reducing the risk to advancing troops. Intelligence has played a critical role in determining the incursion's path, identifying locations of potential threats, and mapping out entry points. Satellite imagery and drone surveillance give commanders a real-time understanding of enemy positions and movement patterns, enabling rapid decision-making. However, operating in Gaza City presents significant challenges due to the high population density and narrow streets, which limit maneuverability for armored columns. Militants reportedly have prepared urban defenses, including tunnels, fortified positions, and hidden firing points, which increase the complexity of the operation. Civilians are caught in the middle, leading to evacuation orders and calls for temporary shelters. The coordination between ground forces and intelligence units highlights the modern approach to urban combat, balancing operational objectives with humanitarian considerations. Analysts suggest that success in this operation will depend not only on firepower, but also on the ability to maintain supply lines and communication under constant threat. Humanitarian concerns are escalating as armored units advance deeper into Gaza City. Reports from local organizations indicate growing displacement as civilians flee neighborhoods under bombardment or fear of ground clashes. Hospitals are struggling to cope with the influx of injured individuals, while access to essential services like water and electricity is disrupted. International agencies have called for calm and safe corridors, but logistical challenges make it difficult to deliver aid effectively. The densely packed urban environment exacerbates the risk of civilian casualties, as even targeted strikes can unintentionally affect nearby homes and schools. UN representatives have stressed the importance of protecting civilians, emphasizing that all parties must adhere to international humanitarian laws. Despite these warnings, the ongoing conflict continues to displace thousands, creating a humanitarian crisis on multiple fronts. Families are forced into temporary shelters, and food shortages are becoming more severe due to restricted access. The psychological toll on residents, especially children, is significant with constant exposure to explosions, sirens, and the threat of armed engagement. Humanitarian groups are mobilizing wherever possible, negotiating for ceasefires or safe passage for civilians. Meanwhile, armored units maintain their pace, aiming to secure strategic locations, infrastructure, and key supply routes. The situation underscores the stark contrast between military objectives and civilian safety, highlighting the complex balance required during urban incursions. As we move to the next section, we will examine the military tactics and challenges faced by armored units in this densely populated environment. Urban warfare presents a unique set of challenges for armored units, particularly in a city like Gaza. Narrow streets, dense buildings, and the risk of ambush make the advance perilous. Militants reportedly utilize small arms, improvised explosive devices, and anti-tank weaponry to counter the superior firepower of tanks. Each maneuver requires careful planning, with engineering units clearing pathways and reconnaissance units identifying threats. Coordination with infantry is crucial, as tanks alone are vulnerable in tight urban corridors. Ground commanders rely on real-time drone feeds to anticipate attacks and adapt to changing conditions. Urban combat also requires disciplined rules of engagement to minimize collateral damage, particularly when civilian populations are nearby. Historically, armored incursions in urban areas can be prolonged and costly, making intelligence and communication essential to avoid unnecessary losses. Despite technological advantages, soldiers face constant stress due to the unpredictability of the urban battlefield. Tanks and armored carriers must maneuver through rubble, under fire, and sometimes through booby-trapped streets. The importance of supply lines cannot be overstated, as fuel, ammunition, and medical support must keep pace with advancing units. Moreover, maintaining morale is critical, as prolonged urban operations are mentally and physically exhausting. Analysts suggest that success in Gaza City will require not just superior firepower, but adaptability, resilience, and careful integration of all military assets. Air support plays a critical role in this operation, complementing armored units on the ground. Israeli forces employ precision-guided munitions, drones, and reconnaissance aircraft to provide real-time intelligence and target enemy positions. Close coordination between air and ground units ensures that advancing troops can anticipate threats and reduce the risk of ambushes. However, operating in densely populated areas requires extreme caution to avoid civilian casualties. Pilots and drone operators must constantly adapt to dynamic conditions, including the presence of civilian vehicles, narrow streets, and unexpected obstacles. Artillery units provide additional support, targeting fortified positions and known militant strongholds. Communication networks enable seamless integration of all branches of the military, ensuring that ground units can call for air support when needed. This combined arms approach maximizes the effectiveness of armored advances while minimizing unnecessary exposure to enemy fire. Analysts emphasize that success in such operations depends on timing, precision, and continuous situational awareness. By synchronizing airstrikes with armored maneuvers, Israeli forces aim to secure strategic objectives while maintaining operational momentum. Despite technological advantages, challenges remain, including unpredictable militant tactics, civilian interference, and logistical constraints. The next section will explore the international response and regional implications of this incursion. The international community has closely monitored the incursion into Gaza City expressing concern over civilian safety and regional stability. Various governments and organizations have called for restraint, urging both sides to avoid escalation. The United Nations and humanitarian agencies continue to advocate for protected corridors for civilians, emphasizing adherence to international law. Meanwhile, neighboring countries are watching the developments carefully, as instability in Gaza could have broader geopolitical consequences. Diplomatic efforts are underway to mitigate tensions, though the conflict's intensity makes negotiations challenging. Analysts warn that prolonged military operations may fuel further radicalization and complicate peace prospects in the region. Media coverage has amplified global attention, with images and reports highlighting both military progress and humanitarian crises. Some governments have issued advisories for citizens, while international NGOs focus on delivering aid under difficult conditions. The situation in Gaza City exemplifies the delicate balance between military objectives and international scrutiny. As armored units continue their advance, each action is observed not only locally but also globally, influencing diplomatic, economic, and humanitarian responses. Understanding these dynamics is essential to grasp the broader impact of the incursion. The following section will examine civilian experiences on the ground amid the advancing armored forces. Civilians in Gaza City are facing unprecedented challenges as armored units push deeper into urban areas. Families are forced to evacuate homes, often leaving behind essential belongings and resources. Shelters are overcrowded, and basic services like electricity, water, and medical care are severely limited. The psychological toll is immense, with children witnessing destruction, displacement, and loss. Local volunteers and humanitarian organizations work tirelessly to provide food, water, and temporary relief, but access is limited due to ongoing military operations. Roads are blocked by checkpoints, rubble, and debris, making transportation and evacuation difficult. Communication lines are intermittently disrupted, leaving residents uncertain about safety instructions or updates. Despite these hardships, community resilience remains evident, with neighbors supporting one another and finding creative solutions to survive amid the chaos. Civilian narratives underscore the human cost of urban warfare, highlighting the tension between military strategies and humanitarian imperatives. While armored units focus on strategic objectives, the civilian population navigates a daily struggle for safety, sustenance, and stability. The following section will analyze the impact of the incursion on Gaza's infrastructure and essential services. Gaza's infrastructure has been significantly affected by the incursion. Roads, bridges, and public buildings have been damaged, while electricity and water supply networks face disruption. Hospitals are overwhelmed, operating with limited resources amid a surge of casualties. Telecommunications networks intermittently fail, making coordination for relief efforts challenging. Essential services like waste disposal, food distribution, and emergency response are strained to breaking point. Armored operations often involve clearing pathways and securing strategic buildings, which can further disrupt local infrastructure. Engineers work alongside military units to mitigate risks, but the urban environment poses persistent challenges. Analysts highlight that infrastructure damage not only affects immediate military objectives, but also has long-term implications for civilian life and recovery. The incursion's effect on utilities and services increases the urgency for humanitarian aid and coordinated relief efforts. International organizations emphasize the importance of protecting critical infrastructure to prevent additional suffering. As armored units continue their advance, maintaining functional essential services becomes a parallel challenge alongside operational objectives. The next section will focus on the strategic significance of the armored incursion within the broader conflict. The armored incursion into Gaza City carries significant strategic importance. Securing key areas allows Israeli forces to disrupt militant networks, control supply routes, and establish tactical positions. The operation also sends a signal of military capability and resolve, impacting regional calculations and negotiations. By advancing into densely populated areas, armored units can exert control over contested zones while limiting mobility for opposing forces. Analysts suggest that the incursion may be part of a larger strategy to weaken militant infrastructure and reduce the operational capacity of hostile groups. However, urban warfare is inherently challenging, and success depends on intelligence, coordination, and adaptability. Each advance is carefully calculated to minimize losses while achieving strategic objectives. The operation's outcome could influence future conflict dynamics, regional alliances, and international diplomatic efforts. Understanding the strategic rationale behind the armored incursion provides insight into the complex interplay of military, political, and humanitarian considerations shaping the conflict. The following section will summarize the key takeaways and outline potential developments in the coming days. In conclusion, the armored incursion into Gaza City represents a major escalation in an already tense environment. Israeli armored units are advancing strategically, supported by air power, intelligence, and engineering capabilities, while facing the complexities of urban warfare. Civilians bear the brunt of the conflict, with displacement, infrastructure damage, and humanitarian challenges escalating rapidly. The international community watches closely, emphasizing the need for restraint and adherence to humanitarian law. The operation highlights the balance between military objectives, strategic considerations, and human impact in densely populated areas. As developments continue, observers expect ongoing clashes, tactical maneuvers, and evolving humanitarian responses. Understanding the situation requires attention to both operational and civilian dimensions, as each advance reshapes the urban landscape and affects countless lives. For our viewers, staying informed about these events is crucial to grasp the broader context of regional security and humanitarian issues. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more in-depth updates. Click the notification bell to stay informed on the latest developments from Gaza City and beyond. Your support helps us bring accurate and timely analysis straight to you.